Hi, excuse the microphone. I lost the little dongle for my other microphone, so I'm talking into this. It probably sounds like absolute arse, but never mind. So I'm here with a trip report of a solo trip I did to Alton Towers last week. So I went up on the Monday, stayed overnight Monday and Tuesday, and came back on Wednesday. I'd actually gone to see a concert at the new Co-op Arena in Manchester. That's separate trip entirely. Not going to talk about that, but that was really good. And it turned out it was actually about the same price to stay at Alton Towers than it was to stay in the middle of Manchester. Probably not that surprising, especially with the Merlin Holiday Club discount that I got. It actually worked out pretty much about the same. So I thought I would combine the two and go to see the concert, go see some of my family members, and then go to Alton Towers for a couple of days. So I left London, arrived at Alton Towers at about 11 o'clock. I had a platinum fast pass, which was pretty good. So I just went straight to, I guess, services on Tower Street, picked that up, and then I went straight on to Wicker Man because when we went to Alton Towers in October for Scarefest, Wicker Man wasn't working. It wasn't to do anything to do with that person who dropped the vape. It just said routine maintenance, so I have no idea what was the matter with it. But I'd really missed the treat. It's such a good coaster. It's surprisingly smooth. I thought it was surprisingly smooth for a wooden coaster. I mean, I was comparing it to things like Wodan in Europa Park and obviously all the woodies in Pleasure Beach, which are not smooth at all. So this was lovely. It was really fast, really exhilarating. I got a near front row and also got a couple of back row rides as well. Just really joyful experience. Um, the thing I can understand now what people say about the pre-show, about how maybe it could do without that, but also I feel like 90% of the people going to Alton House have never been before, are not riding Wicker Man all day, and for them, I think the whole pre-show is part of the storytelling, and I feel that Wicker Man is one of those roller coasters you kind of be literary about this. You can kind of interpret it as a text, as in it is something that's telling a story, and without the pre-show, it cuts away a big chunk of the story it's telling. So yeah, I understand. And also it means you can't do single rider because, there's no point. You couldn't have a single rider because they'd have to bypass the pre-show. And I think it's part of how they batch people up. So, yeah, I can see why I'd now like that to be an option, especially one of the times, I won't spoil it if you haven't seen the actual pre-show, but some people decided they would just scream every time the lights went out, and I was like, just it's fine. Anyway. So I also went down to X Sector after Wicker Man. Um, and I don't know. I think I was cursed every time I went to X Sector. Right there, Smiler and Oblivion both broke down. I went to Smiler, it broke down. Oh, okay, well, I haven't done Oblivion yet. I'll try Oblivion. And then Oblivion broke down. So I just, I went off to Dark Forest and I went on 13, which is very silly. And it's always fun to go on 13 for people who don't know about the surprise and 13. But yeah, most people don't know about the surprise. And again, I didn't have to wait in line. I had a fast pass. I think the queues were pretty firm. They were like 30, 40 minutes at least. And then obviously they occasionally broke down. On the whole, I think the crowds were more or less okay on Monday. There were some school trips. There were quite a few people knocking around, but it wasn't ridiculously busy. I think I could have coped without the fast pass, but for me personally, I don't really hate waiting in queues. I don't mind too much, but some people mind a lot. So I enjoyed 13 a great deal. And then I decided, since David Walliams Land is probably very not much longer for this world, first, sorry, the camcorder is set on battery save, so it shuts down every 5 minutes. So that cuts me off waffling. Anyway, yeah, I went to David Walliams Land. It's dead in there. I don't know why it's still there. I don't know who it's for. I don't know if he's particularly relevant to kids anymore. Certainly, like my daughter never thought much of the books, and I just question how much relevance his characters or his work really has these days. I did go on Gangster Granny, which I had heard was a pretty good ride. Um, there are some cool effects in there. Some are really kind of cheap, and there's parts of it that are far too dark and scary for the young kids who usually ride it. Again, I don't know who this ride is really for. Definitely not for me. And while I do love a good fart joke, I don't feel that fart jokes are an adequate replacement for, well, just fart noises. They're not a replacement for jokes. They're not a replacement for humor. They're just farts. Um, it has the bones of a dark ride, say for kids who've outgrown CBeebies, but for whom something like the curse or hex is just too scary. I also did not appreciate in any way the transphobic caricature portrait of David Williams in drag, which presumably is the ride designer's attempt at an Easter egg. Uh, I don't like my Easter eggs transphobic. Just, just saying. Anyway, talking of eggs, I had a packed lunch to eat, which is an homage to my nephew who described his grandparents as eating cold foil wrapped boiled eggs on any trip rather than eating in a restaurant. So I felt just as an homage to Moss, I would do that. Shout out to Moss's channel. So I went actually on the sky ride up to Forbidden Valley and had my packed lunch on there. And after I got off, I saw the sign saying "Don't eat or drink on the sky ride," but it's a really good place to have your lunch. Um, I went on Galactica, which I love, really love Galactica, and then went on Nemesis, and then finished my lunch watching Intoxicated go around. And then the app said, "Oh, you can go check into your hotel." So I did that, dropped my bags off, plugged the car in, and then I took the monorail back to the main entrance because I wanted to go on X Sector. And guess what happened? Um, well, actually, when I'd taken the monorail. So if you take the monorail, you go in through the main entrance rather than through the hotel entrance in Forbidden Valley, which is how I got in the first time. And I was told when they scanned my annual pass, "Oh, we've reached the limit of annual passes today." And this was some consternation because I said, "I've already been in, I've got a fast pass." And apparently, didn't know this. You're supposed to have your hand stamped when you leave through the Forbidden Valley entrance, and nobody had. They just said, "Bye, have a nice day," and I'd just gone, "Bye." I didn't think about that. So they had to just check that I'd actually already been in. But I felt like I've got a fast pass. I've got my platinum thingy on. Surely you'd know. Anyway, it's not their fault. The system pinged up. So something worth bearing in mind if you are coming in and out and you've got annual pass, make sure to get that stamp. Anyway, they did find me on the system and I got to Etc. and the Smiler had broken down again. I did do Oblivion. I did have my eyes shut. I don't know why. I think it's just like a remnant of that phobia, I think. So yeah, I did it with my eyes shut and then it broke down as well. So I think I might have killed them both on the Monday. I went off the Wicker Man and went on another go on that because it's really good. I did actually see when I went back to X Sector on the off chance that the Smiler was back up, people were being evacuated off the final break run for the Smiler, which probably is quite an exciting experience, but not, that means the ride isn't working. That's a technical thing. So Spinball Wizard also broke down, and then I went back to Forbidden Valley. I took the extreme 205 steps route because just like that, need the exercise. And then I went on Nemesis again, and there was this woman who was really well dressed. I mean, I really liked her outfit. She was dressed like a Lolita type, and this got a frilly petty pants and a really cool bag and everything. And she was having this full VIP treatment. She had somebody, yeah, sorry. So this lady had these, the frilly petty pants lady. She had somebody take her bag and put it in a cubby, and this full-on treatment. I think she must have bought the VIP experience ticket, which was good for her. But I was like, nobody took my bag. Nobody is looking after me. That's not fair. I should be wearing frilly petty pants. But anyway, so I also went. I this point. It was probably about 2 minutes to 5. So I ran over to Galactica to get in the row before ride close, which was lovely. It's such a nice ride. I really enjoy it. So went to the hotel, forgot my toothbrush, went to the hotel shop. I had dinner at not forbidden, Secret Garden, which was fine. It was only okay. And it turns out that the evening they have a pub quiz, and I missed the pub quiz, so I'm really cross about that because I love a pub quiz. Anyway, so Tuesday had my breakfast in a dark corner of Secret Garden, and the breakfast is it's fine. I mean, it's unfortunate it's not full of like little things you can steal and have for your lunch, which is a top tip. For, like Europa Park has a sign up saying very firmly, please do not take food out of the restaurant. Whereas Disneyland Paris, I saw a family just with stacks and stacks and stacks of fancy Tupperware, the breakfast buffet. This is bear on this Disneyland Hotel, just stocking up all of their lunch boxes with food for the day from the breakfast buffet. And I felt like, you can afford the Disneyland Hotel. I'm pretty sure you can afford to buy lunch, but never mind. So there wasn't anything you could just yoink and take with you, which is kind of a shame, but it's very basic breakfast is what I'm getting at. So I went on Nemesis. I got in line. I got second ride of the day, although it turned out someone then threw up on my. They threw up on. I had the front row. I was waiting for the front row, and someone threw up on my train, on my seat, on the front row. Uh, like first train of the day on Nemesis, and what you do is you throw up on it, which is typical, really, isn't it? So then two people refused to sit in the vomit seats, even though they had been diligently cleaned. They just refused to sit in the seats. So they were put back in the queue line, and I realized that I was going to be on. So that train got dispatched. They got on the next train, and I realized, oh, great, I get to sit in the vomit seat on Nemesis, which was, it's all right. It dried up pretty well. Um, but I didn't get why you would go on Nemesis the first ride of the day if you're feeling poorly and then just vomit everywhere. But talking of nausea, I then went on Toxicator, which is actually much less intense than I was expecting. It's really fun. It's really silly. It's disappointing that the fountains weren't working. But I think it's like a nice step up from a pirate ship. It's a lot less intense than something like a gyro swing or even something like a magic carpet ride. It's just very, very, very silly. I mean, I think if your inner ear doesn't really vibe with going round and round and round like a washing machine, it's probably not the ride for you. But I really enjoyed it. I went on a Runaway Mine Train, which is probably the best Mac powered coaster in the UK. Flying Fish makes me want to throw up, and I don't usually get sick on rides, but 5 times run of Flying Fish at Thorpe Park will do it for me. Nothing else. Congo River Rapids was good fun. I do enjoy a river rapids ride where you get constantly told off to, and you get told to sit down and put your phone away. And that's your experience of the ride, is going on this like rubber dinghy thing and being told to sit down and put your phone away the whole way. That is currently the experience of being on a rapids ride. But it's nice to be a bit like it was a hot day, so it was nice to get a bit damp. Um, and then I went to X Sector and I went on the Smiler. I went single rider queue, which I think I waited about 20 minutes, and that included the 5-minute pause for essential cleaning. Because guess what? Someone threw up on the Smiler as well. It's funny because I think in Thorpe Park they fully dress up in hazmat suits and have magic powders and all sorts, and it seems to take them ages. Whereas Alton Towers, they just get out the anti-bac wipes and just wipe everything down and off you go. I'm not sure which approach is better, but fortunately, yeah. And having been on the Smiler, I get it. It's really good. It's a really really good ride. And again, like Wicker Man, you've got full. Mm, so as I was saying, you with the Smiler, you get a full storyline, full storytelling, a beginning, middle, and an end. And particularly the ending was, I wasn't expecting that. I thought that was really fun. I don't really like the merchandise. other Smiler. I don't like the color scheme, and I don't like the logo. I see why people like it, but it's not for me. I didn't buy any Smiler merch. Um, I went on to Wicker Man because I thought, oh, a single rider for Wicker Man. There's no single rider for Wicker Man, which I realised when I got there. Then I went on Spinball Wizard instead, which the single rider line there is very good, very quick. Just basically walk straight on. When I think it was a 40-minute wait. It's a bit more awkward in Spinball Wizard because you're quite sitting quite close to people that you don't know. It's not quite like Smiler where you're sitting down and you've got the big sort of over shoulder restraints and you feel a bit more like separate from people, whereas Spinball Wizard you are kind of being bumped into people, a bit like that with Wicker Man, but we're all grown ups here. um, so I went, and then I went off on the curse, which everything was working on the curse. I mean, some of the dolls were leaping out at you slightly too late, but on the whole, if I count myself lucky if you go on the curse and the trommel is working and the lighting is working, and unlike say Phantom Manor, uh, it wasn't sneakily pitch dark for no reason. The lighting hadn't been sneakily dimmed to hide the fact that I think that there's some maintenance work that needs doing. So it's pretty good. Hex was broken, but I did, however, have to leave and go to Manchester. So I did a single rider on Galactica. Again, that's a really good single rider line. They just bunch everyone together. They bunch the RIP people, the Fast Pass, and the single rider together, and they just allocate you. And I think the only difference really is single rider. They will obviously just shove you wherever, and RAP and Fast Pass, they will try and sit you together. But yeah, I got a front row on Galactica, which I'd never had before. That was really fun. And then I drove across over the Peak District to Manchester, and came back. It took ages to get out of the car park at Co-op Arena. I think next time, probably thing to do is find parking on a tram stop or something and get the tram in rather than have to wait, because there's no organization whatsoever. There's no one directing traffic. You just basically have to fight your way out of the car park. I got back about midnight. Look at the sun. And then I was on Wednesday morning. I decided I was going to get back into the park for a bit. So I had my breakfast, my average breakfast. I went on 13, went on Nemesis. Oh no, that's not true. I didn't do any of that. I'm just looking ahead of my notes. No, I went in through the Forbidden Valley entrance and then scuttled through the Park to Rec sector before ride opening. So I got on single rider for the Smiler just as the ride opened, really, and I pretty much walked straight on. So that would be my recommendation. If someone said, I want to ride the Smiler, but I don't have to wait in a queue, what do I do? And I say, just get to X sector as early as you can as soon as the park opens, which opens way before ride opens at 10, and just get in your single rider queue, and you will get your ride on the Smiler, and then you probably want to turn around and go back on it again because it's really good. I was a bit worried I was going to whack my ears on the over the shoulder restraints, but they do have a bit of extra padding, which is nice. And with my husband, I was saying a decent restraint really makes the ride. If you've got a nice comfy restraint, it's even if the ride is a bit mid, it's so much nicer. I compare something like going on Hyperia with the lap bar, which yes is completely safe, don't worry about it, compared to something like Colossus with this big clunky rock hard shoulder restraint. And I really feel like I would enjoy something like Colossus so much more if I wasn't constantly whacking my ears against that collar. Anyway, so yeah, I hopped on 13. Hex wasn't working. I got the sky ride back to Forbidden Valley, and it got stopped right over when you go over from the sky ride. There's that beautiful fountain that you stop over, and we actually got stuck there for about 5 minutes. And the worst thing really was watching the ride time for Nemesis, which Nemesis Reborn does not yet have a single rider queue. So we were stuck in the sky ride watching the queue time slowly ticking up. But I think I was only waiting about 20 minutes. And I got another front row seat, which is great. Went on Galactica, got the single rider again, and I noticed they the Galactic team seems to be working really hard to get their two trains out as quickly as possible. I am presuming there's some reason why they're not both the stations aren't working. It's because you could have one station for loading and one for unloading, but they don't do that. The second train just waits just outside. Um, Unfortunately, I arrived at Galactica just as the primary school trip, the floodgates opened and all these kids turned up, which meant it did take a little bit longer, but um, I did think it was funny. One of the kids had to sit with their teacher, which must have been really cringe. But I then went to Tower Street and got some merch, and then I had to drive home. So overall, I've had a really good time. It's nice to go on your own because you're not like having to fit around other people and have any kind of negotiation about where you go, what you do. It's also a bit lonely. Did chat to some people in the queues, and I can see how people like, they meet their significant other in the queues for rides because you're kind of in this enclosed space with something large and noisy to talk about, and I can see how people bond. So I went to get some merchandise. So I'll show you this. I got this little pin, which is from the Curse. I got 2025 Alton Towers, Runaway Mine Train, Choo Choo. I got Galactica and 13 with a little moving ride train on there. You can see that. I haven't got Smiler or Oblivion yet because it's really for my daughter, and as she says, it's stolen valor if you wear it and you haven't been on it yet. I also got, I'm just going to pop this in my ear to show you. So I also got this shirt. See? Oblivion. It's got this funny little rubbery thing on the back. It's quite cute. I also got, finally they do a plushie Nemesis. So cute. Look at her. Oh. I also got this Galactica shirt, which you can see is a space, and it's got a very subtle Galactica logo on the side. And finally, I've got this, which is washed very badly. It's the corkscrew, which I've been on. I went on when I was about 11 or 12, and they finally got some merch for it at long last. And I think that's all my merch. And me and Nemesis will say goodbye.